Well, Tennessee's Week 1 football kicking off today. And first up, defending state champ McCallie will get CCS in this Week 1.
Baylor will play on Sunday at 1 p.m. hosting Rabun Gap, and that game will be televised on ESPN.
And Boyd Buchanan will play Chat Prep. Yeah, you go ahead, Hannah.
No, we're just so excited. We can't wait to talk about it. It's a big year for the Sentinels, their first senior class this season.
And of course, we'll talk about some more defending champs. Class 1A South Pittsburgh is back taking on Oliver Springs.
Ottawa at Chat Central.
And Sequatchie County will play at Bledsoe County.
And Josh Rowe will recap all of those games for the first full night of Sideline Spotlight.
We're really looking forward to this. This is the new version of our comprehensive high school football coverage. It'll have more previews of your Saturday football as well.
Now it all gets started right here at 10 and 11 and on Saturday on Good Morning Chattanooga. Certainly something to be really excited about.
Oh, I
literally cannot speak this morning because we are so excited about football. We keep talking over each other, but it's finally time. I know as soon as football season is over, the next question comes up, when does it start again? So we're finally able to get back into football season. We can start talking about it and getting excited.
It's a chance for those teams to really get out on the field and kind of put their playbooks to the test to see exactly what those matchups will look like. So again, with this new Sideline Spotlight roundup, we're going to have full coverage of all of those games across Tennessee, Georgia. Really looking forward to this new initiative that we're trying out. Now, of course, we've been asking our viewers, are you excited about high school football? And certainly a lot of people, 55%, the majority, are so excited for it. I think we're in that division too, Hannah.
We are. We're super excited for it. We obviously cannot stop talking over each other about it because we're so excited about it. But yes, this is certainly going to be a super fun season. And of course, we will be following it on ARC as well as our other shows.
Now, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I'd like to talk to the people who say that, no, they're not excited because high school football just has so much energy. What are you not excited about? How can we get you excited about tuning into Sideline Spotlight? I mean, this is big for those schools, and it really brings the whole community together, and it's that, like you said, school starts back up. It's just great to bring everyone back together.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the cost of tickets for Hamilton County Schools sporting events is set to go up this year. As the district tells us, you can expect to pay $10 for a high school football ticket if you're an adult.
Maybe that's why they said they weren't as excited about it. Maybe that could be the no. So the ticket prices for students and seniors 62 and older did not change. Adult tickets for middle school basketball and football are also a bit more expensive at $8 each.
The schools say that the price changes are necessary to compensate for the increased cost of conducting those games. Like you said, Hannah, maybe a little bit of hesitancy about why that cost rise or the ticket price rise was needed. But like they said, they're just to facilitate those games, to put it together. There's, some costs that need to be considered.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are willing to pay a couple extra dollars to go and see those games because they are super exciting. And speaking of Friday Night Football, have you ever wondered if the weather affects musical instruments like the ones like it does for the people playing them?
Well, our Ryan Gold took a trip to Heritage High School in Catoosa County to ask the band director that very question. Let's listen in.
Well, hey everybody, I am here with Bill Wynn. Bill, what is your job here at Heritage High School?
I am the band director here.
Band director. So with it being so hot, how does that affect, the metallic instruments? And obviously there's going to be a lot of instruments that are not all metal, but they have some metal in it. How does that come into play?
In general, when it gets hotter, the brass instruments get very, very sharp.
And what does sharp mean?
Pitch goes higher.
Pitch goes higher. Okay. Yeah. And I'd imagine that the opposite would end up happening in the cold because, you got to play in the heat in August and September, and then it gets a bit chillier in November and December.
We'll find out about December one day, but in November, it is definitely colder. So, and of course, they'll go flat, so the pitch will get lower. So, there's a couple things, one, you do tuning sequences and things like that, but we tell the kids, tuning is not a one note thing. Tuning is a constant. So that you got to open up your ears and listen and be aware that the heat will drive your sound up. So just be aware you may have to pull a slide. You may have to make some adjustments. But we really emphasize just listening to each other. And if the whole band goes sharp, then you maybe aren't so bad off.
The problem sounds right if everybody sounds
well, the problem is when you get on the field and your front ensemble, which is your xylophones, marimbas, vibraphones, they are very differently affected by heat and cold, and they can't pull a slide or push a slide.
Right.
So when you're in the stands, those instruments aren't playing. But when you're on the football field, you really do have to try to find that center of pitch. So yeah, there's some adjusting.
There's some adjusting,
and
definitely.
like you said, throughout the season, from July to November, you have quite a bit of variation.
Right, of course. Well, thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to really think about that, because when I was playing out there on my field, it was always the drums. So you'd have the metal of the drum get a little looser or get a little tighter, because with metal, heat expands and the heating contracts in the cold.
Right.
So when it gets expanded, the drum heads get technically out of tune, considerably out of sync, or just kind of becomes a little bit wonkier. It's hard to explain with drums, but that's what we had to deal with, and we had to bring our drum keys to help tighten up the screws. And you guys played saxophone.
Yeah, we did.
And that's a whole brass instrument with, of course, some wood to begin with. So, I mean, that I'm sure affected you guys as well.
I mean, the weather, especially if it's cold. I mean, obviously coming from the north, college, it was, on the field, it was always so rough when it was those really cold days and you had to get out and practice. If it was snowing or raining, you have your sheet protectors. It does make marching or just playing outside a little difficult, Hannah.
And that's the tough thing about changes in weather, changes in temperature. Even if, you could have a day that's super chilly and then the next day it warms up a little bit. What is that doing to that instrument? What is that doing to the reed? So always going back to check in and see if you're in tune. I think it was funny that we heard, if the whole band is a little sharp or if the whole band's a little flat, I mean, maybe it'll,
maybe it'll work out,
itself
right?
out. But yeah, super interesting to think about this, because these are those small things that a lot of people don't consider when it comes to football season, when it comes to band, how those little changes in weather, how those changes in temperature can affect what the music sounds like and what the musicians are playing.
Right. I just remember how cold the saxophone would get outside sometimes, and it was always the worst trying to make that work. And yeah, like we said, the constant temperature changes can expand and contract your instrument constantly. What about the the damage that could cause?
Exactly.
That's
I
just
remember
the long-term damage on the instrument as well.
when it was super cold out too. I remember I wasn't able to move my fingers, and I was trying to play the saxophone. I was trying to move my fingers, and I was like.
Well, and the bands, like we said, we don't realize how much energy and effort goes into making that happen. And the bands really can bring a lot of that excitement to those high school football games.
Yeah,
they're an important part.
Yeah, and of course, when it comes to actual rainfall on metal instruments, that's never good for rust purposes, and that's just going to bring a whole new can of worms. But luckily, down here, it doesn't get as cold around November as it did for us back north. But it still is a factor. And if they do get to go to play in December toward the championships and playoffs, well, that's a whole new can of worms.
Right.
Luckily, though, Ryan, for the high school football games tonight, it seems as though there won't be an issue with rain, right?
Yeah,
It'll be okay.
no rain issues, but there could be a heat problem, so they might get sharp. Thank you so much for making Storm Track 9 your first choice for local weather. To stay up to date with the latest, please like and subscribe.